I've read 16 books this year so far, and I'm about to tell you which ones are worth reading and which ones are worth skipping. Oh my god. Oh my god, this book. So this book, I should have started this book. If I can just get these ones too. Starting off with the first one, without revealing it, I actually started this book last year in 2023, so to get a chance to finish it this year was really just gave me a sense of relief. First book of the year, we started strong with Paolo Coelho's Adultery. I don't know how I should feel about this. I rated this one 3 stars on my Goodreads account. Let's say that the start was amazing. It sort of started for me getting boring in the middle, but then the ending was something a lot more spiritual, as we can expect from Paolo Coelho's work. And seeing as I already had read The Alchemist last year, I was getting accustomed to his work, and I started really liking his short, catchy, inspirational, more deep meaning sort of stories. And to see that this one mixed romance as well was something more revigorating to read that I eventually enjoyed. So if you want a quick read, I think this would be like the perfect go-to read for a train ride or a quick airplane ride. It's not gonna make you cry. It's not gonna make you feel any sort of emotion a lot. The second book that I read this year was actually part of a series that I found out as soon as I finished it. So I was really excited to get my hands on the second one, only to find out that it didn't have it anywhere in my country. And what book I'm talking about is If He Had Been With Me. And this has been literally all over my book talk account. I've seen countless reaction videos, silent reviews on this one, and I have heard that you either fall in love with this book or hate it completely. And I can say I actually liked this book. I didn't personally cry over it. I've seen videos where people sob after this. It's a love story between Autumn and Finn, and it's, you know, one of those growing old with them books, and it's something really melancholic that I really like. So if that's something that you like, get your hands on it. I rated this one 4 stars if I'm not mistaken, simply because I didn't really quite enjoy the ending. If you want a very sort of sparse love story, go for this one. The next book that I read was actually one that I've had marinating in my library for I think years now, and I got it when I was smaller. Looking for Alaska, written by John Green. Now, John Green is a person that you either fall in love with or hate. I've read this one very poorly. It's marked 2 stars out of 5, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. Having seen the first episode from the HBO, if I'm not mistaken, TV series, I was expecting something really good because usually books are better than movies. But in my opinion, when it comes to Looking for Alaska, this is not the case. I think you're better off watching the TV series than you are reading the book. I can't lie. I love the idea without spoiling anything, with the 136 days before, and then you have after. And so it makes you wonder what is before, what is after, without revealing too much. Although over the course of the book, like around 60 pages in, you kind of find out what it is about. I wouldn't really go with this one. Oh my god. Oh my god, this book. So this book, I should have started this book. This book, it's got me speechless. Wow. This is the real deal. Tillie Cole's 1,000 Boy Kisses. I'm not kidding. This is amazing. This had me bawling and sobbing my eyes out. I've never read every single word of a book so slowly to really understand the story in... I can't even remember. The prologue had me sobbing and begging for dear life. If you want a book to completely destroy you, go for this one. She's dropping her second one from the series, I think this June, if I'm not mistaken. So, even more reason to read this book. This book had me sobbing every chapter. I'm telling you, get your hands on this one. 5 out of 5 stars rated on my Goodreads account. Go ahead and buy it right now. Albums, The Next Person You Meet in Heaven. And actually, I grabbed this book while searching for a book that they didn't have in my store. And so obviously, I cannot walk into a bookshop without purchasing a book, because that's me. And so to pick up a book that was actually kind of old and to have actually cried over it and enjoyed it is amazing. This one is rated 5 stars on Goodreads. 5 stars. A 5-star after 5-star review. So this is not meant to be a silent book review, but this book. So I am one of those more meticulous readers. In terms of, if I don't like the structure of a book, I'm most likely to... You start the book with the end. And if, like, I'm forcing you, I'm getting you to read this. Like, this needs more recognition. I find that the ones that have least recognition are actually the ones that... You know what I mean? Each chapter in between has this doesn't reveal any, like, spoilers, but it has this Annie makes a mistake. Yes, I'm telling you, this book, oh, glorious. I think I found my new favorite author, like this one. And this is like a normal fiction book. It doesn't have any sort of romance. It does have some sort of dystopian elements to it, but I 100% recommend this. Jenny Han. So me and Jenny Han, right? We have an interesting sort of love-hate relationship, right? I've read the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series. I'm gonna have to agree with her books are not as good as the movies. I made the mistake of watching the series before because it raised my expectations, and then I started reading this book and I realized it's just slow. This book is actually rated 2 stars out of 5 on my Goodreads. That's pretty low. It didn't make me feel any sort of emotion, and it did feel good in terms of love triangle. So this is about Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah. There we go. And then she has her friend Taylor and the mothers, Susanna and Belly's mom. So we went back to Coelho, and this is Maktub. I've got to say, this is actually one of my first times that I'm reading a hardcover book, and I'm actually really enjoying it. This is one of his more nonfiction type of books, and it really just has a set of messages really structured in a very, very intriguing way. This is what I love about Paulo Coelho. He writes stories with deeper meanings that have really intriguing philosophical elements to them. It's about the master and the traveler, and there's sort of like an ongoing journey. You don't get a lot of insight into who the traveler and the master is, but you get their wisdom. And I feel like that's a really, really good read. I really, really enjoyed this one. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars again, and I'm really picky about my 5 stars here. I read it, I think, in one sitting, so it was amazing, this one. I really, really enjoyed this one. You definitely, surely either hate this one or love him in terms of his work being a lot more, let's just say, philosophical rather than emotional. Okay. If Only I Had Told Her. The second one in the series with If Only He Had Been With Me. So this book was what I needed. The other one was sort of shattering. It ended on a very sad, tragic note. But this one, see, this one I came back for. It's told in the point of view of both Finn and then his friend Jack, and lastly Autumn. And in the first book, you don't really get a lot of things that are happening towards the end, because, you know, I did tell you that there's that plot twist. So this one, it goes back. It's the prequel. It's not the sequel. It's number 1, and then that's 2. And I really, really enjoyed this one. But actually, this one is rated 3 stars on my Goodreads, so take what you will from that. Girl Interrupted has been on my to-be-read list for a long time, and I know I wasn't supposed to have high standards from this one, but it kind of disappointed. It's a very short read. I read it in a sitting, but I gave it 2 stars. And I'm about to tell you why. This book has not missed in terms of adding a special element in the book. So you have the handwritten personal records of the patients, and then also the memorandums written, which have caught my attention. But over the course of the story, you sort of only stay on the very surface level of all emotions, and you don't really dive deep to find out discussions in between characters. And I couldn't really link myself to the characters. Next, I started this series. Yes, a series. And bear in mind, I haven't started the series in so long. The Shatter Me series. I didn't really know what to expect. And this was the first science fiction novel that I picked up in a long time. This is a one POV story written in first person. It's about a fragile teenager held captive, locked in a cell by the reestablishment. Her name is Juliet, which is finally a sort of like normal name for a character in a sci-fi novel. She is locked in the cell, hasn't talked in for 267 days, if I'm right. And then there's also Tahereh's Mafi's way of writing that adds spice to the first time she meets the boy in her cell, Adam. She's trying to run away from Warner, which is the antagonist of the story. I rated it 4 stars simply because I didn't get a lot of emotion from it. I loved the new approach into its writing though. So I would recommend if you're devoted to start a series. I didn't love it, but I did really enjoy it. So there you go. I decide it is time for me to switch genres completely. And I choose very wisely. Freida McFadden's first read, The Housemaid, did not disappoint. Let me tell you that. This book, oh my God, 5 stars. First thriller I read in my whole entire life is a psychological thriller with Millie. We are in Millie's first point of view, and she goes into this. So she just got out of jail, and she goes into this house employed by Nina Winchester, and peculiar things start to unravel. And the amount of frustration that this book and many other readers that I've seen after TikTok, after finishing this book, have experienced. This book I read in 2 nights, in 2 sittings. And the second sitting, I slept until 2 a.m. to finish it. Pages were turning. It's written at a very fast pace. You think you know how it's gonna end. And then Freida McFadden just, nope, switches it right back. And it's insane. Like, wow. 5 stars. The quotes and the ratings on the back with 5 stars, they do not lie. This is amazing. My mom gave me another book recommendation, and this was Gabriel Garcia Marquez's Until August. And I found out that he died, and his family found his manuscript and published it 10 years later, and this is the special edition. So the fact that Garcia's family found this manuscript and published it means it's one of his less polished works, as the editor mentions at the back of the book. It's a very short read. I read it in 1 sitting, this one too. And it's about Anna Magdalena Bach, which keeps going back to this island. It's a normal fiction, nothing surreal that happens in this book. She is a happily married wife with a husband and the children, but every August she goes off onto this island where her mother is buried, and for one night takes a new lover every time she goes there. Even though it's very short and it's apparently one of his less polished works, I gave this 4 stars because I really, really appreciated his writing style. It's not in first person, it's actually in third person, and it describes it exactly like a movie unfolding right before your eyes. So from that point of view, I really, really enjoyed this, and I instantly but fell in love with Anna's character. And it also keeps it quite on the surface. It doesn't go deep into the character's emotions, but it does describe a lot of, let's say, sceneries or things that are happening. And I think that helps you picture it better. So for me, it was a very fast and beautiful read that I really enjoyed. And next, Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. For me, this was it was the perfect like romantic story that you would read on a rainy day with a hot chocolate mug and a couple of snacks like cinnamon rolls. It was very nostalgic, and the way that every chapter has a quote from a rom-com movie. I've actually went ahead and watched Pretty Woman after this one, and I cried at that movie. This book was, I didn't cry at this book, but I did give it 4 stars on my Goodreads. She writes the coziest and nostalgic romances. So it's about Liz, and it's exactly the sort of, if you've watched Whatever It Takes or any type of Bridget Jones, Mark Darcy as the ones on the back, or Pretty Woman, it's about girl meets boy, Girl wants to get boy through the help of a friend. And then it's that whole idea of a do-over, and they get to prom. And then obviously the girl ends up having a change and a shift of feelings. So I'm not gonna give away too much, but it's really, really, really cute and wholesome and sweet. So I suggest this one for a very quick romance read. And lastly, this book is actually written by my best friend. So yes, you've heard that right. It's written by my friend. And this is her debut novel. And she wrote it when she was 14, which is embarrassing because I'm 60. So reading this made me realize this girl has potential. And I'm talking about A Chase for Glory by Miruna Cornescu. And this one is not my usual type of read. It's historical fiction, and it's with the characters Odysseus, Achilles, and Jade. And this is also the last book that I read. The start definitely hooks you, for sure. And you've got plot twist after plot twist, and it's just something that instantly grabs you. And also, take a look at this beautiful cover. And I got a signature, so a dedication. This makes me so happy. And so this book is about a historical fiction with Jade that meets Achilles and Odysseus and embarks on this whole journey with them. And it's a love triangle of some sort. Although, to bear in mind, it's written by a 14-year-old at the time. She's now 18. If you've read any sort of books like from Jennifer Donnelly, I feel like she writes exactly like that. This is very nice and sweet. The ending, somehow the second part of it is a little bit more sloppy than the first one, but I definitely do suggest you read it. There you have it, all of the books that I read this year so far, and I'm actually quite impressed. I've read 16 books. I don't have a couple of other ones here. I am lending also another debut novel of a person that I know by Sara Podgoranu, which is a contemporary romance love triangle. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you've got some new ideas for your to-be read list or the next book that you're gonna pick up. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend or day or night, and make sure to read because it keeps you a curious person. Bye bye. I just realized I have to put all of these back into my library right now. So I went back and